Let's come back to home. If you like doing a bit of shopping on Anzac Day, you're in for bad news in New South Wales, where the Premier has just announced as of next year there'll be no retail trading at all on Anzac Day. Currently, you're able to go to the shops, Caroline, till after 1 p.m. Here's the Premier, Chris Minns, with some of his reasoning behind this decision.
It's an opportunity for the community to come together to acknowledge what has been a profound sacrifice by generations of young Australians on behalf of the country. And if we forget some of those basic tenets, if it's lost to future generations, if it's not commemorated on Anzac Day, then the essential character or the spirit of a country like Australia gets lost alongside it.
What do you reckon, Caroline? Good decision?
Well, look, I think it's good to see a Premier, a Labor Premier in particular, talk about why it's so important to remember Anzac Day and instill those values, because I think it can be a bit like you spend the morning going to a dawn service or thinking about it, and then by the afternoon you've moved on if you're not playing two up somewhere. You're doing your shopping, you're living your everyday life. But I also do think it should be up to businesses, I guess, to decide whether they want to be open or not. I mean, a lot of people are doing it really tough as it is. So if it's going to have an impact on the livelihood of people who run small businesses, then that's not a good thing either.
Let me ask you about this, Patrick, because small business won't be allowed to operate, but the NRL and the AFL in Victoria, of course, this is a New South Wales edict, but you've got major sporting events that will run. Is that a contradiction?
Oh, look, down here in Victoria, we've got the Anzac Day clash between Essendon and Collingwood each year. I think if you tried to stop that, James, there'd be a riot in the streets. It's part of the fabric of Anzac Day now. I like the sentiment of Chris Minns here. He's saying, look, we need to remember, we need to commemorate. I'm not sure that closing the shops from 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it all sort of seems very 1980s, doesn't it? In the sense that, I think we're past all that. And I think, Anzac Day is dedicated to commemoration from the crack of dawn, literally, until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'm not sure about closing the shops, to be honest.
All right, well, let's talk about another part of retail, and that's hospitality, because with the cost of living forcing people to cut back on luxuries like eating out, hospitality businesses are failing at nearly twice the rate of a decade ago. According to ASIC data, more than 1,500 cafes and restaurants shut up shop last financial year. Industry experts say soaring food and energy prices, plus rises in rents and insurance costs, are pushing more businesses to the brink of collapse. So, Caroline, we've got this weird situation, right, where the government are happy to put billions of dollars into renewables. We've got huge funding for quantum computers, and small businesses, will they get, $325 to offset their power bills? How's that fair?
Well, it's not fair, but it's very virtuous of the government, isn't it, to force us all to use this type of clean energy while people are struggling to even afford to keep their heaters on or run their businesses, so it would seem. Maybe they can get one of those quantum computers to serve us our coffee and our lunches, and that could be the solution. But of course, that will see even more people out of a job. Look, there's been a 30% increase in average food costs. There's been, in the past few years, there's been a doubling in insurance costs and rent. It's just not viable for many people to continue to work in the hospitality industry. Add to that the skills and trade shortages as well. The industry warns that if the government can't rein in inflation, they're either going to have to, more people are going to have to go broke and shut up shop, or we're going to be paying $10 for a cappuccino or $100 for a steak. And I don't know what kind of quid you're on here, but I definitely can't afford a $100 steak and chips.
Doesn't matter what quid I'm on. I will pay any amount of money for my morning coffee, Caroline. I can't function without it. Patrick, just talking about, the $325 sop to business for their energy prices, the government really haven't got much bounce from that money released to people on July 1st, have they? Everyone's sort of taken it, it's absorbed and forgotten about.
Oh, look, the last electricity bill I got was more than the one before and more than the same one last year. It hasn't really made any impact, has it? It doesn't feel like it's made any impact. It doesn't feel like you're saving any money with those energy bills. They just seem to go higher and higher. It's not something people are talking about. It's not something that people are accrediting for making life easier. And going back to what you were saying before, I mean, the cost of cheese has doubled apparently in the last 2 years or the last year or something. People don't have any money to spend anymore, and $75 off the energy bill isn't really making any difference.